Veronica, hi.
Hello, hello. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Well, I want to wish all our viewers a very, very good evening now, rather. And apologies for the delay. We had some technical glitch in getting connected with Veronica. She's in UK, we are in India. So sorry once again to everyone. So how have you, Veronica? All well?
Thank you. Yeah, I hope you're well
Great.
as well.
Good.
So it's
Thank you
a
so
good
much.
morning for me, good evening for you.
Great. Thanks a lot. So I think we are running a little late. So without wasting more time, I just want to welcome all of our viewers who have been very patient enough to wait for almost 14 minutes till the time we could finish off the technical glitch. So I'm Vikram Khurana. I'm the CEO of Kaapi Solutions and an Arabica Cube grader. I thank once again all of you for being patient and joining us for this live Instagram session with Veronica. So we have Veronica along with us, who is the head of the wholesale team for Ikawa, and she is based out of UK, where Ikawa is headquartered. Veronica comes with a very strong experience in coffee roasting, and which is great because that brings a great combination of beans and technology together. So, Veronica, first thing is we have seen a lot of roasters. We have seen a lot of sample roasters, and when I see Ikawa, a digital roaster, with my first impression is this is a roaster where I can create my profile, I can save my profile, I can share my profile of coffees, what I work on with all my learnings I put in together. I blend in technology with my learnings and my experience. So what was the ideology behind inventing Ikawa?
So it's a really interesting story because it kind of connects to the name Ikawa as well. So our inventor Andrew Stodi, his parents were basically working with farmers in origin countries, specifically in Africa, because they were agronomists. And so he grew up in coffee producing countries as a young boy, and I think most of this time he spent in Burundi. And so that is where he saw how coffee is connected to the culture, how coffee is something which is a livelihood of so many people, but how disconnected it is with the whole value chain. So basically the farmers, people working in coffee are amongst the least fortunate in the world. And that's not just Africa, we know it, how it is. And so he was always feeling like he wants to give back, and so he later on in his life he studied mechanical engineering, and then he worked in mechanical engineering as well, but then he decided that he wants to basically connect industrial design and engineering together. So he joined the Royal College of Art, which is a really prestigious school, where basically one of his main projects was to work on something which is very coffee related. And so his first idea, it's a funny one, was a roaster, grinder and brewer all combined in one. And then so he went on, and basically like more in the later iterations, he discovered that the thing that needs to be reinvented the most is a roaster, because the quality and what the roasters were at the time, especially like a small size ones, were very disconnected from like how well we've done in inventing grinders, inventing coffee brewers. So he went back and he started focusing purely on coffee roasting. And he always had this idea back in his mind that he wants to make a change in the origin. He wants to create something that's gonna basically connect all the links in the chain, in the value chain in coffee. And roasting is something that needs to keep happening, right? In each of the chain, because you have farmers, you have importers, exporters, and you have the end user, like roasteries, and then obviously like end users are brewing. But sometimes it would be a great idea for them to be able to roast coffee as well. So in 2010, so basically we just celebrated 10 years of Ikawa as a company existence. In 2010, the company was formed, and the more and more he delved into roasting and like a small micro roasting, he he discovered that the need of the roaster of this size is mainly within the specialty coffee or coffee industry as a whole. Specialty is a bit more ahead, so they are the ones that they want to adapt it first. So the focus shifted from the end consumer more onto a coffee professional, which is great because it connected with all of his engineering and his design capabilities, and Ikawa was born. And it seems so easy for me to say Ikawa was born. I've seen so many of the projects before the last step, but always there was a thought of connecting, and the connectivity is something that, like, as a topic, it kind of connects to our philosophy and then what we are trying to do when we are basically looking in our improvements.
Wow. I've been always very obsessed with Ikawa since I saw it 2 years back. I think I met you last year, and I really wanted to see this technology in India. India is a 6th largest producer of green coffee, and we export a lot of coffee. And the best part is, last 9 years, we've been consuming a lot of coffee. The consumption in-house is growing. We have seen a trend of specialty coffee, all across. It's growing, the third wave. I won't be surprised seeing the fourth wave coming in very shortly. And even our specialty, the farmers, the growers, are working a lot on the specialty sector. So my first question to you is, when we have a lot of work on specialty happening in India, our growers are working a lot on the new processing methods, techniques to see if they can work, for example, carbonic macerations. A lot of stuff is happening at the farm level. And fortunately, specialty cannot be a very big volume. And a lot of times we get 300 kgs, 500 kgs, a ton max, on micro lots, nano lots. So how does Ikawa benefit our specialty coffee growers? End of the day, they are the ones who create. And when you create, you should know what you're creating and what you are going to be selling to your potential buyers, who are the end users. So how does Ikawa benefits our specialty, and our specialty growers?
I think first and foremost, it's great to kind of just touch base a little about what it actually is, because I said like the history and so forth. But if you understand how it works, what it is, you will understand the benefits straight away. So the Ikawa is the first world's basically digital micro roaster / sample roaster. It's a two-piece mechanism, right? So you have your actual roaster, you have the hardware, and then you have the app, which in the app you can basically control the roaster. You can control and you can create profiles, and you can share the profiles and so forth. It's it is the usual. It's Apple or like iOS or Android and so forth. But the thing is, what it gives you is with this app, you have, I'm just going to open one profile. You have the control of changing, editing a profile. You have it all in your hands. So you can go as geeky, but also as simple as you need to, which is something excellent. And I think in terms of growers specifically, if they want to achieve results that are kind of comparable with like farmers all around the world in like it's the highest of the speciality, it's really important for you to have control. Control is something which like we always have first and foremost in like when we are building the roasters and all the QC, and your control kind of connects. So I know a lot of farmers, for example. I know few guys in Brazil. They do like a portable QC labs that they are walking around the farms and doing basically QC on the farm. You have the immediate feedback of how your coffee is performing. So you don't have to wait. You have basically the immediate results there. Another thing is it's portable thing on the farm. You can basically choose a place where you're going to roast, so you can move it around, you can travel with it. You can also, I know a lot of farmers, obviously they are doing absolutely amazing job like growing coffee, but I know just a few that are actual roasters, right? Like they do have a knowledge of how to roast coffee at some point, but they do not have the ins and outs of like the specialty roasteries that we see around the world, right? So one of the greatest thing for the Ikawa I see is you as a farmer, or you as a startup, you as someone without a specialty coffee experience at this time, you can roast like a professional immediately, because what it does, it not only comes with the ability for you to create sample roasts, you can also connect to our network of users, or you can use our profile library online, where you can choose the coffee profile that are made by champions or very, very highly perceived professionals. And we collaborate a lot with those, and I'm hoping we will have some great Indian profiles very soon from you and all the amazing users we have in India. I was just tasting coffee from India the other day, because we were doing some sample and some testing. So, and I'm so aware that we need to make more Indian profiles, because that's gonna benefit everybody in not just India, but everybody who buys your coffee as well.
That's great. Yeah, I think as we said, micro lots and nano lots are very limited, and we use a 50-gram batch, So firstly, we can do multiple batch roastings to understand the coffee at the farm level, and we can always save the profiles. We can, transform this profile, just share the profiles with the specialty roaster, who's going to be end of the day doing the roasting, in different states, of India. India is big. And just a quick question came from one of the viewers. He says, the roasting profiles, what a roaster generally will set it up, how will it help the farmer back? If I'm roasting coffee and I do get a better profile, and how will it, and I give some feedback to the farmers, how will he can benefit it with the roasting profiles of course what we create, with Ikawa?
I think it's an excellent benefit, because it means that you are designing your own language. Right, like you're speaking the same language. You're talking about the coffee, and if you give feedback to your farmer and say, "Hey, I've done this profile on this lot of your coffee. It's excellent." You share it with them, and they will have something that they can use as a benchmark to compare the coffees that they have as well. And they will all be able to taste the coffees like it's being drunk or roasted, which is something which, like, in Africa, for example, it's almost unheard of. Like, they do sample roasting on the farm, and there is, a lot of amazing work done, but not in a lot of instances. The farmer is able to actually roast, taste their coffee as it's being roasted, around the world. Which, if you can do this on the farm, it's just amazing, because it means that we are all speaking the same language. It's very similar to wine, because wine is used, it's sold as a done product basically. So you have a producer tasting it, has the tasting notes, and then the people who are drinking it, and they can speak their same language. In this case, when you have the same profile using the same coffee, it's the sky's the limit, because then you can improve so much faster, because what you are looking in the cup. So it just gives this whole 360-degree angle view on the coffee, and obviously, as you mentioned, the size of the sample roast. We have 60-gram capacity, but we recommend 50, because it's similar to a big commercial roasters. 80% is obviously ideal for this case. But when you have a small micro lot, you don't want to waste them and roast a kilo and be like, oh, this is not the right one. This is not the right one. And then suddenly you're gone, your 10 kilos are gone and you don't even know about it. With this one, you can tweak things, sample them, and you have so much control. And it's something unheard of previously before Ikawa joined the market. And this is why we are leaders.
Right. Yeah. Great. And then we move to the next aspect, which is very important, is the roasters now. So you have a great coffee being grown, and then this coffee reaches our roasters who are spread pan-India. And in India, we're talking a lot about commercial roasting, big batch roasting. Then we're talking about the third generation small roasters, 5 kgs, 12 kg roasters per batch. And then we're talking about a new trend from last 3 years, which we are seeing is roasting at home, but talking about really very, specialty. So all these 3 segments, you need to pick up your coffee for the whole year. It's a yearly crop. And many times a roaster is going to be making a very big investment. He lines up a very big investment on his next 1 year purchase of coffee. So he really needs to understand his coffee. Of course, I know that some of our roasters do carry, our Ikawa customers do carry Ikawa to the farms every year, in this trolley, and they, roast the coffee along with the farmer. But where do you think our specialty roasters, all the three segments, commercial roasters and the specialty roasters, can add value and save money and keep a better control on their coffee quality around the year, using Ikawa?
I think it's because, well, not only the size, like I mentioned, like you're going to immediately save money by having a smaller batch, but because it's consistent. So just to touch a bit on the way we build them or the way it works, I think it kind of connects all together. So it's a sample roasters. It's a hot air. So like the most heat transfer that you have from it is convection. So it's going to be the heat that is the most controllable. And the way that we build them, we really do quality control, so there are no leaks and so forth. So every single roast, every single profile that you use it as a roast, it's going to give you the same results. Obviously, if you're using the same coffee, but it's gonna control the temperature in the way that you want, and it means that your control will enable you to assess the coffees really well, because you are cutting off basically something unpredictable, which used to be sample roasting. When you do manually, you had to cup over the roast in a bit, in a way. But in this instance, you kind of can just focus on the coffee all in all, and you can just forget. You don't need to worry. Like if you have a roast that you prefer, you're just gonna roast all the coffees, using this one, and then you just cup, and you are like literally just cupping the green, like the coffee that how it tastes. This gives you a really good opportunity to make the best decisions you can make, because you will be 100% sure that what you're buying is the coffee that you want, like it fits within your philosophy, your roasting style, and etc. Now, in the instance of which my company I used to work before Ikawa, we also used sample, like we used Ikawa for inventory kind of timings. So a roastery buys a lot of coffee, and then you have a lot of coffee from different origins or different densities and so forth, and the coffee ages differently. Like, so you have like different so your calendar for release would be different if you didn't have Ikawa. But with Ikawa, we were cupping coffees that we are meant to release in months and months, but we were cupping them, how they're behaving, how they are aging, if everything is going fine. And if we tasted, okay, this is, an Ethiopian ready to release now, because it's past the time where it needed to rest, we changed it, and we released the coffee that was more quality at that time. So we avoided having to waste, an amazing Ethiopian, because it would be too old by the time we previously wanted to release it.
Right. This is a question coming from one of our viewers, that how accurate is the curve or the profile what we generate on Ikawa, or does it varies from the actual roast? So can you give us a little more on the accuracy of the profiling, what we generate or we get on Ikawa?
Yeah. You mean profiling from Ikawa to the production?
So if you're roasting the coffee in Ikawa.
On Ikawa.
Ikawa.
Yeah. So I think first and foremost, it's great to understand we're talking about the V3, the current version of the Ikawa, which is the one that comes with 2 temperature sensors and an airflow control as well, which is obviously you're controlling the motor, the speed of the motor. But we call it airflow, so we speak the same language as the roasters. But you have 2 temperature sensors. One of them is called inlet, which is right underneath the roasting chamber. So the air is drawn in through here, and then about here is an inlet sensor. It's very, very accurate. So it's a PT1000. So it's like a resistance temperature sensor. So it gives you a feedback within fractions of a second. Then the air goes into the roasting chamber, which is here. I don't want to. I think we can do like a more hands-on one later. But there is a temperature sensor right above the bean as well. So we call it an exhaust sensor. I would say, from my perspective, I think the most appropriate name for it would be above bean temperature, because it's a temperature sensor that sits above. Now you have the choice of control either or. So you can either control the roast using the inlet temperature sensor, or you can use the exhaust. It depends what you want to achieve. I usually, when I speak to people who are profiling on gas, they want something more similar and so therefore I always recommend the inlet temperature sensor as the one to use, because it's more, you are controlling the heat that is applied rather than the temperature of the bean. But then you have people who want to have coffees that are from the same origin, doing a table of sample roast from Kenya, and so you use an exhaust temperature sensor. So it means all the beans will go through the same process in terms of heating up the beans. So you have the ability to control either or, but you do have data from both of them. So in the end of the day, when you are assessing the coffee doing QC, you have the availability of the data, which is great because you can also, like, I'm going into nitty gritty, but what you can do, and I often do, is when you look at the both of the profiles, you have the inlet and the exhaust, so the power in and the above bean temperature. And you can follow the one that you haven't used as a control one in your new profile and see how it's going to behave. And then you can do like experiments like this, and you can learn the ins and outs quite quickly. Like it took me just a few weeks, few roasts of the same coffee, which is another thing I found previously. You have to learn the equipment, and if you're using like a bigger sample roaster, or if you bigger roaster in general, it takes you quite a lot of coffee and quite a lot of time to learn it. So once you learn Ikawa, you can roast in any Ikawa, because the way that we build them is consistent. But if you get a big production roaster, most likely you have to then, if you leave job and go somewhere else, you have to learn, even if it's the same one, learn how to roast on that particular one, because the way how they're built. I'm not trying to say anything bad, but we are trying to make it as kind of easy, hands-free experience as possible. And I'm saying hands-free. I probably need to explain it, because it remembers the last profile that was used. So basically, you can literally just put coffee in and press the button. You don't need to even use the app. So the app is more for your QC, for your data. But if you literally are very busy, like the big companies that are doing dozens and dozens of roasts, and they need to QC, you can literally just press the button and that's it. Like it tells you when it's ready, for the beans to go out, and you can kind of spend your time differently. And you are roastery, like obviously me being in London, most of the people I know from my previous past is in London, but they've had people who were roasting 8 hours a day, like standing next to a roaster roasting. But with this, they were able to go around and do other tasks in the roastery that were needed to be done. So it has so many benefits, and I don't want to just pinpoint like a certain ones for certain businesses or people, because I think everybody benefits from all these little things that makes your life easier in a way.
Absolutely. I think that's where our intelligence on the roaster comes into play. One question, Veronica, which I love to ask is, which I get from a lot of my customers and friends in the industry, is that when you are roasting on a 50 gram, batch size hot air roaster, and when we are talking about now transforming it into a bigger commercial roaster, be it a 5 kg, be it a 12, 25, 50 kg, how does this happen? Now, I always tell them, as a chef, you have to use your intelligence. But now, from the product point of view, how do you think, how easy it is, and how do you do it?
It's as easy as you need it to be, I'd say, but it takes some determination for you to learn basically the way it works and the way you want it to work. So I know mostly from my experience and all the courses I've done previously, and the majority of the flavor that is carried from the coffee is it's determined by the color of the coffee. So I would say if you have a color tracker, if any device that is going to give you like an agron or like whatever scale of coffee, how you're roasting, you're halfway there. So the thing is, it's obviously because the way it works because it's convection. Not every time you will have a production roaster that works on the same heat transfer, but in the end of all, if you achieve the same volume, like the same roast color on the Ikawa and then on your big roaster, you are almost there. And then obviously the tweaks are for you. But I would say with the Ikawa, what you can do, you obviously a 50-gram capacity, you can record where the first crack happened. You have the ability to mark color change, and you obviously would probably weigh the coffee out so you know what's the moisture loss. Then you would do color track, you would record that, and then you would apply this to your production roaster. Now, what this needs is you need to learn Ikawa and you need to know your production roaster. So you need to speak the language of your production roaster and you need to speak the language of Ikawa. Now, the translating is currently on to you, but if you have all these tools that I was mentioning, it's not hard. It takes obviously some experience, but I'd say I know we are preparing some blog posts as well, and Rob Hoos has done tremendous job for us in terms of informing and educating people. And I think he's currently has like a webinar style thing you can hire on Vimeo, which is him doing an Ikawa roasting school, which I would recommend. I can share it with you. I think you can share it with whoever was here as well, and he kind of explained it. I mean, I'm not a roaster, even though I roast coffee. But I think he's more capable of explaining those.
Sure. Thanks. I think that's very, very important, because that's where it really, and that's a question I always get from a lot of my roaster friends. One thing I remember, you mentioned when I first met you that there's a very nice big Ikawa community which is growing every day. And this community, I believe, uses a lot of the information which flows very freely between the users. It really helps them in the learning and development. Tell us something more. We would love to have this community build up in India, as we have more and more Ikawas going into the market. How does this, community, Ikawa community, will add to the learning and knowledge, between the growers, roasters, all the, verticals, involved in coffee?
Yeah, we are very lucky. I think even today, the world as is, it's making me feel even more lucky that we can work the way we do. So the community for us is really important. So we collaborate with a lot of schools. We work with people like Rob Hoos or Coffee Mind and kind of get their feedback and our R&D, but also there's multiple other things happening online. Like we have an excellent coffee community and in Korea, for example, where people doing different like we just had a roasting championship for Ikawa in Korea, which was great. So the guy that won it is now extremely highly perceived because he's done an excellent job with his Ethiopian sample roast. And so we have a lot of mini communities, for different regions, but obviously we have the whole community that kind of connects with us. We have a lot of competitors using Ikawa as well, which obviously connects with the price of the coffee that they are using, but also the control that they need. And we've started doing a campaign called Coffee Connected, which hopefully we could bring to India as well if there was any interest in that, which is remote cuppings. I've just done one with Algrano, so tasted some excellent Brazilian coffees with people around the world being connected on a Zoom. So I think having something like this where you can take it home, but you can remain connected with the coffee community is excellent. And we currently have, I think the latest data I have, we have over 400 units sold, 4,000 units sold around the world. But we have, I think, over 10,000 users, because obviously you have a lot of companies have multiple users for one Ikawa, but you have 10,000 people that you can ask for help. And usually the collaboration that is happening behind our backs, in a way, I don't mean it in a disrespectful way, but that is happening just naturally occurring, is is with producers, importers and roasters talking to each other. We also work with some companies like Cup of Excellence, and we have Best of Panama, all these kind of working together with us, providing sample profiles for the users or the whoever buys the coffee. So there is a big community. I think it usually happens naturally. It's not even us sitting and being like, okay, let's create a community in Korea, but the way it is, how simple, how you can move it around, you can connect to people, send profiles via email, via text messages. So like naturally what occurs is the connectivity between the people. And the thing is, I think I keep saying like we speak in the same language, but it's so important because you have the world is massive and obviously there are different languages, but if you send someone a profile, you're speaking in the same language.
Right. Fantastic. One more question we are getting from one of our viewers, is how compatible is it because artisan and cropster is very, very popular in India now. Most of the roasters are using their, either of them for profiling. So how compatible is it when you are using Ikawa and you have to, shift the profiles?
I wish I could tell you it's copy paste. It is not yet.
Oh, okay.
But no, it's we have cropster integration, which mainly because it's mainly used as a sample roaster or something like a profiling. It's more of an inventory, but you can also do QC through Cropster. So you can see the profiles, the Ikawa profiles, and you can do QC of the coffees that you have, which means a QC of incoming samples. So it can be QC of the coffees that you are profiling. The sky's your limit. So in terms of artisan, I think that's very similar. We don't integrate, but the data that you have. You can actually go online. You can go on, App Store or Google Play. You can download the Pro app if you want. It's free of charge, and you can see how to build a profile. You'll be able to see how it looks, because sometimes what we try to do, and for example with the ROR that you have while you're roasting, we try to make it look as familiar as possible. So basically taking away anything like, oh, I need to learn a new way of roasting, because it really isn't. It's basically roasting coffee, giving you the data, giving you the ability to change and having all the control.
Great. Well, that's flexibility is the key, as always. Great, Veronica. I think we're running short on time. We started late. So yeah, I think we had a lot of questions, and one of a very interesting question is, some of the questions are related to Arabicas and Robustas. One of the questions a viewer is asking is the moisture content. A lot of questions which probably will answer back, and we'll send you some questions. One question is for how useful is it for an end consumer if somebody wants to buy Ikawa for home? I'm sure in UK you must be having a lot of them. I'm sure in Europe you have a lot of customers. In India also the home segment is really, really growing. Who wants to roast coffee at home?
Oh yeah, I think it's extremely valuable for someone who wants to take their coffee game to another level. So we have a lot of geeky users around the world, and they are the ones that are very interested in the community. Funny enough, so they are the ones creating a lot of smaller communities around the world, which some of them I can't even access because of my language barrier. But the people who want to roast coffee at home, like obviously the size, you can fit it on your counter. It fits really well. You can learn how to roast. So because if you are an end user who has no prior experience in roasting coffee and wants to learn, this is an excellent tool that is not only going to teach you how to roast coffee, but also supply you with a great supply of coffee you can drink at the same time. So because you have this community that's already existing and creating the profiles, and we have a lot of profiles on our profile library online, you can literally start roasting as a champion. I know it sounds like cheesy, but we have a lot of champions from the world competitions. providing us with their profiles, so you can literally just go and
Wow.
open the profile from your hero and then roast like them, which is just great because it connects people. Like, even again, like now in today's time, I think connection is something that we really want.
That's great. Well, certainly, it's one thing I get from here is that next year we should have a Ikawa roasting championship in India, and we will work on it certainly. And also to all our viewers, we want to also share that we'll be shortly doing a live session on Ikawa on Instagram for all of you to give you a very good hands-on, better understanding on Ikawa. So I think probably next month, and we shall be announcing that very shortly once we have the time from Veronica, when she is comfortable to do it for us. But certainly, I think the market is really, really growing. It's getting very, very mature. The Indian market is really growing. And next year, we foresee it's going to be a great year for coffee in India. And well, yeah, I think, well, thank you so much, Veronica. It was, I think, a great informative session for all of us. We're all very new to Ikawa. Though we have some customers in India, we've been learning, who've been using Ikawa from last many years in India. And now, for sure, we'll look for more, feedback from more customers as they've been using Ikawa, and will be sharing more feedback with us. So certainly, thank you so much for your time.
You're
and
welcome.
Thank you to all the viewers who've joined us for this live session. And once again, my apologies for making you wait initially for the technical glitch. So thank you once again, and you all have a very good and safe evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.